Hello, and welcome to a cautionary episode of We Only Look Thin. I am Katherine Weigel. I am one of your hosts, and I am today celebrating 4 years of changing my life.
Hey, congratulations.
It is literally today, and with me is...
Donald Weigel.
Hello.
Hi.
You've lost weight, right?
I am one of the hosts of We Only Look Thin, and I have lost a little over 100 pounds.
Congratulations. And
I don't remember my anniversary date, though. I think it was December, so it's like, I think it's about a little over 2 years of hitting my goal.
Well, today, it's not 4 years of hitting my goal. It's the 4th year of being the most depressed and lost in my entire life.
Congratulations, DJ Airhorn.
I know I talk about it often, so it seems like it's weird that it's 4 years ago, but 4 years ago, went back to work and tried to fit into a pair of size 22 jeans that I was convinced were going to rip while I was at work, so I put on a long sweater to cover my dupa, as they say in Poland, and I literally thought I was going to rip my pants, and I was sitting in my car waiting to go into the office, and I knew I had to change my life somehow. Like I was tired of living in this circle of depression and anger, and I finally just decided I needed to do something. And that is when I realized that the voices in my head were not suitable for weight loss. And so I started listening to weight loss podcasts. And if
you're listening to weight loss podcasts, you're doing the right thing.
You're doing the right thing.
Let me tell you.
But I just decided I wasn't going to give up no matter what, and yada, yada, yada.
Cut to 4 years later, and you're down 100 pounds. It's so simple.
So 4 years ago, I just knew I couldn't give up, and I didn't, and I haven't yet, but it takes constant vigilance. And I know we talk about it a lot on the podcast, but we're going to talk today about sort of the rules that we still live by, the code that we still live by.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Little Mandalorian for you.
Yeah. But before we talk about ourselves,
we're actually going to do a tip of the week.
Tao,
everybody.
Tip
and
of the
guess
week.
What? A product of the week.
Tao. It's just like the good old days.
Yeah. Longtime listeners will know what those are. If you're a new listener to the show, welcome.
Welcome. A Tao is a tip of the week, and a Pow is a product of the week.
Exactly. And if you're a longtime listener of the show, also welcome. And if you're someone who's just sort of in the middle, welcome to you as well.
Anybody who thinks they're listening to Joe Rogan, welcome to you also for some reason.
Exactly. For some reason,
I'm not sure we have the same
show.
audience. But anyway, we're going to start with a tip of the week.
Tao! Tip of the week to you.
Tip of the week to you, darling. So this is a tip that I literally just invoked on my own self.
Yeah.
And the tip of the week is to, right now, delete an app that is stressful to you, unfollow someone on social media who stresses you out, throw out an article of clothing from 1999 that you swore you were going to fit into.
Yeah.
Remove one thing from your life that is stressing you out, that is not serving your journey, that every time you look at it, you kind of get that sick feeling in your stomach of either being less than or competitive, or even if it, with like an article of clothing, which I actually have a pair of pants that I think I might need to let go of because I bought them 18 months ago and they still don't fit. So I think I might need to just say goodbye.
Yeah, if they're not doing you any favors, if they're just stressing you out, like maybe get rid of it.
Yeah. Do you have anything that you need to get rid of, or is your life perfect?
I don't know, actually. I don't tend to hang on to clothes that are making me feel bad.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess there's me. I do. No, but I
don't know. I do have like one Target T-shirt that for some reason, even though it's my size, is a little snug on me that I'm Maybe I should get rid of it.
I have a couple of shirts that are in the juniors department that I don't think, if I see kids at our daughter's school wearing the same shirt as me, like a Smokey the Bear shirt, maybe need to get rid of the Smokey the Bear shirt because I'm 45.
I don't know. Well, my shirt is a Star Wars t-shirt, and I'm 50. So.
You're 50.
Yeah, but I don't know. I put it on a couple of weeks ago, and it was a little snug, and so I didn't actually wear it.
There are certain things that, like, I bought a shirt that was on sale, and it fit me, and so I feel weird about getting rid of it. But I don't really like it, but it fit, and so I got to get rid of it. So I'm going to get rid of some stuff today, but we're not getting rid of the tip of the week.
No, or maybe you've got, maybe there's like a treat in your cabinet that's really stressing you out, and you're trying to talk yourself out of, not just eating the whole thing to get it out of the house. Why don't you just
get rid of it? I know. Right. I got rid of my sister's cookies that she sent us, and someone in Wolt Place, WOLT Place, don't get rid of that, was like, oh, doesn't that hurt your sister's feelings? And one, she doesn't know what podcasts are. Two,
she's not on the internet.
Not her business, and she doesn't have a webcam in the cookie jar to see what I'm doing with the cookies. So they serve their purpose. I'm getting them out of the house. So that is our tip of the week.
Tip of the week to you.
Ciao.
And just to tie a bow on that, like if your sister sends you cookies and you need to throw them away, you can just tell her they were delicious and that you appreciated them and move on.
Yep, it's okay to lie.
And that's your tip of the week.
Ciao.
Tip of the week.
I tried to end the tip of the week like 3 times. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to put a bow on your bow. I'm going to class it up one more step. I'm going to tie a little bit of potpourri to the ribbon.
On. I know it's now, approaching the middle of January, but I'm still trying to hold on to the Christmas season by wrapping things in bows.
Yeah, we try to hold Christmas in our hearts all year round. But speaking of Christmas, we are actually going to move on to a very special Christmas movie. Some might say it's not a Christmas movie. We're not talking about Die Hard.
Yeah.
But another Christmas movie that we think is germane for the month of January.
Yeah, so we our daughter brought up in December the idea of watching Gremlins, which, believe it or not, could be a Christmas movie. I think there may be even some internet debate about this because it takes place during Christmas. The original Gremlin, Mogwai is a gremlin,
and he goes to Nakatomi Plaza to get his wife. Oh no, wait, that's Die Hard.
Yeah, and then he fights Alan Rickman. I
promise we're making a point here with Gremlins.
But we're watching Gremlins. I assume everybody out there knows what this is, but essentially, this struggling inventor brings home this fascinating animal creature. And the creature has 3 very distinct rules.
Which is really funny because he gets it from a tiny shop in Chinatown, and there's a voiceover. It's not even like, here are the rules before you even pet this little thing. Here are the rules in writing. It's a voiceover of, and don't forget.
Yeah, in just watching it again, it almost made me think that they shot the movie and then they were like, we forgot to show the scene. We forgot to shoot the scene where he actually gives him the rules. So the rules are done as a voiceover.
It is an afterthought.
So the idea is this creature, you're never supposed to expose it to bright light, never get it wet, and never feed it after midnight.
Right, but he's
There's
never...
Two nevers in there, and the second one is it's never feed it after midnight.
Right, there are 3 rules. That's all you got to do is 3 rules. Turns out humans are more complicated than that.
Yeah. Well, and even in it seems really simple, just follow those 3 rules. Well, of course, the kid who gets the gremlin for Christmas, does not follow the rules.
In a day. Yeah. He blows it all.
Right. And so it unleashes this legion of horrible, awful creatures upon a small town who then, wreak havoc upon it and, destroy Christmas decorations and people. And
so we are big fans of analogies. We're big fans of throwbacks. And instead of considering Gremlins as being the result of not following these, think of growing fat cells as sort of our version of Gremlins.
Yeah. So when you are on your weight loss and fitness adventure or journey, whatever you prefer, what are the rules that you need to stick by? What are the things that you know about yourself that, or maybe you haven't even acknowledged about yourself, but you're struggling to figure out? we thought, what if people came with these warning labels? What if somebody could, in a voiceover, tell us.
Don't forget, here are the 50 things you have to do to keep Catherine not.
So I think we're going to actually do this in two parts. We have come up with rules for ourselves that we know we need to follow in order to, it helped us lose 100 pounds and it's helping us to maintain 100-pound weight loss. And what are these rules? So we thought, going over the rules for ourselves, maybe you would identify with some of them, or maybe you could start thinking to yourself about what your rules are, even if your rules are different from ours.
Well, and here's the thing. I've been on this path for 4 years now, and I think one of the biggest changes in myself is my own self-awareness. I used to be a victim of so much circumstance, and we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
But understanding how quickly I'm able to trick myself into old ways and to justify bad choices because of circumstance, it still happens even after losing all this weight. I'm up on the scale a little bit from last year, which I've talked about before, and I posted a picture in Wolt Place of my start weight for January of 2020. And it's about 5 pounds heavier than I would like to be. So one woman in Wolt Place said, well, how does that 5 pounds matter to you? Because you still fit into your pants. And, and like technically your life is basically still the same. Those 5 pounds represent an erosion of my habits.
Right.
So this list kind of was born out of that kind of self-awareness of like, when I tell myself this, I'm lying.
And we've done episodes before about that slippery slope. We did one called Breaking Bad about that sort of, making a bad habit the new normal, or making that 5 pounds the new normal. And look, is 5 pounds really that big of a deal? No. But then what about the next 5 pounds?
Right.
And then the next 5 pounds after that. And then before you know it, we no longer even look thin.
Right. And because right now I'm at a higher weight than I was a year ago. And it's only 5 pounds, not a big deal. But if I settle in at this weight, and then another holiday comes around, and then I go up another 5, and then that becomes the new normal, it's not going to be good for us. So we sort of have some guidelines for ourselves. Some are very practical and some are more metaphorical, but we're going to tag team it. We've got lots of exciting and interesting things to say. I wish there were only 3 rules for me.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wet.
Yeah.
Like, that's nice.
Yeah. In fact, I wish the rules were just the Gremlins rules for myself. Like, don't expose me to bright light. I much prefer being inside watching television.
Oh my gosh. He would sit in the dark all the time.
Don't feed me after midnight, which actually is probably an actual rule. And then don't get me wet.
Gremlins are people.
Can you imagine how much free time I would have if I never had to shower?
Yeah, you'd have more time to sit in the dark watching 80s movies.
I'm just sitting in the dark, not showering.
Oh my gosh. I went out one day, I can't remember when it was, and came home like 8 hours later, and you and our daughter were still in pajamas in the dark. I was like, they would go
Thanks
fallow.
for calling me out. Thanks for calling me out.
Fallow. So why don't we? We're 90 minutes into the show. Why don't we get started on tag teaming some self-knowledge?
Yeah. So my first rule actually is never feed me after 9:30 p.m.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, there are definitely exceptions to this. There are times when I am stuck at work till, all night sometimes when we shoot nights. But I am stuck at work really late, and I can't possibly be up for hours and hours without eating anything. But generally, never eat after 9:30 p.m. is a good rule for me, because I'm just not making good choices at that point. And really, I should be going to bed at that point anyway, which I know sounds crazy to some people, but, I don't make great. I'm not opting for carrot sticks, or steamed cauliflower at, 10:30 at night. Like, it's candy, it's cookies, it's all of the things that I shouldn't be binging on.
Well, and for me too, 8 o'clock is kind of my my cutoff. Don't feed me after 8 p.m. With the exception of like last night, we went to see a movie. We ended up not eating dinner until 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I budgeted into my calories having some treats at 8:45. And that was a justifiable, like, I'm still hitting my goal. But anytime it's after 8 o'clock and I just go back in and go like, I'll just have one more. I'll just have one more. Like Donald said, it's never cauliflower. So think about yourself. When do you stop making healthy choices? Because as the day goes on, our resolve goes down and our motivation in the morning isn't what it is at night. So
yeah, for sure.
So close that kitchen. When do you turn into... Wait, what happens when they eat food? Then they multiply?
No, that's when they turn into the evil gremlins. Yeah, when they eat the food.
That's kind of hitting close to home.
Yeah, they multiply when they get wet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And this leads me to my second rule for myself, which is the converse. And it took me a long, long time to come up with this, but it's never eat before 2 p.m. And I know, again, this sounds crazy to a lot of people, and I am not truly doing intermittent fasting. I didn't even know what that was when I started doing this. I just sort of came upon this myself. But I have found that if I start eating first thing in the morning when I get up, I just end up eating more calories. And for whatever reason, I'm not as hungry in the morning. And so I try and take advantage of that and wait until the afternoon to have my first meal. And it started with, let's just see if I can wait until, like 11 or noon. And then I found that if I waited until 2 to eat my first meal, that I was really living my best life that way. I start eating at 2 o'clock and then I eat hourly after that. And then, have my dinner around 7:30. And I find that I'm really able to manage my calories best when I do that. And if I start eating early, it's much, much easier for me to go over because it's much harder to stop eating.
Well, and I think for our fine listeners out there, understanding what works for you. There are some people who really need to eat something first thing in the morning, but recognize, come on, let's just name ages. You're 30 years old. You're 40 years old. You're 50 years old. You're 60 years old.
You're
naming
42.
Numbers. 42.
You're 47.
It would be really creepy if we individually made podcasts for all right, Jennifer, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Do a little internet trolling, figure out what their weaknesses are.
I like it.
That's a little creepy. But really understanding yourself and looking at those loopholes and excuses that you make for yourself. There are people who, if they thought about waiting until 2 o'clock to eat, would go crazy. Like for me, I eat a little bit earlier, but not too much.
Yeah.
But if you're a person who is like, I have to have breakfast, and if I skip breakfast, it's all over, then that is awesome. Dawn isn't saying don't eat until 2 o'clock. These are just rules for him.
Rules for me. Like if you were going to buy me in Chinatown and bring me home.
In a box for your kid?
In a box for your kid. That would be a really bad.
Super chill.
That would be a terrible
The 80s
Christmas
were a
gift.
different time.
Yeah, for sure. So I've done a lot of talking so far, darling. What are some of your rules? How was that for a transition?
That
it sounded
was
really
very
natural.
organic and good. So one thing, the first thing I wrote down was I cannot trust myself to only eat half of what's on my plate.
Oh, yeah.
If it's there, I will eat it. If I order something at a restaurant, I went out for breakfast the other day, went out to a restaurant, ordered a delightful breakfast, and I told myself as it hit the table, I'll only eat half of this. She lied to herself. I ended up eating, I left a small bite of food left just so that I didn't seem like I was going to lick the plate
just
in
so
front
you could convince yourself that you didn't actually eat it all.
A polite portion. But if it is on my plate, I'm going to eat it. And fooling myself and thinking otherwise, there might be times, magical times, that I only eat half and then I feel like I'm the best, most inspirational person in the world. But out of 10 times, 7 of the times I'll eat everything that's on my plate. So not fooling myself and just knowing if it's on the plate, there's a very good chance that my willpower will not be such that I can only eat half.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I could ask for a smaller portion. I could plan to just eat the whole portion, knowing that that's probably what's going to happen, and stop lying to myself about it.
Yeah.
I could bag up half of it and then throw it in the trash. But honestly, if it's on my plate.
Sometimes at restaurants, you can actually ask them to just bring you a half portion.
Yeah.
You know?
Or like, to be honest, I ordered breakfast with eggs and bacon and pancakes. I did not need 3 pancakes.
Yeah.
I could have said, hey, only put 1 pancake on the plate.
Right.
That would have been a better
Charge
solution.
me for 3.
Charge me for 3.
Because they'll get weird
Charge
about that.
me for 6.
Yeah.
But only bring me 1. Because I know
it only comes with 3. Charge me for 6, but bring me 1.
Bring me 1. Another one is, and this is big, especially when we go away, never leave my cupboards too empty or too full. If like we went on vacation and came back and there was nothing in the refrigerator, and we ended up getting takeout.
Yeah.
And my instinct for the next day was to get takeout. And we ended up getting a food delivery service, or grocery deliveries.
Saying takeout.
But that, like, if the cupboards are empty, and sure, there's, the food that you buy that, like, you don't actually ever intend on eating. Like,
right.
Oh, there's canned soup. I don't want to eat canned soup.
Yeah, exactly.
That's sad. I'm not going to eat that. I'm going to get takeout.
Yeah.
Or if I buy so much food that I cannot get past the first wall of food,
right.
and I'm like, I know there's chicken in there, but I don't know where it is, and it's too much effort.
I have pre-sliced apples in there somewhere, but I'm not digging for all that. Yeah, exactly.
So kind of like a Goldilocks, too full, too empty, just right, because that just leads to takeout. Another one, a big one for me, is to never trust myself when I say I will do it later.
Oh.
If I say I will get on the rebounder later, I will do yoga later, I will track my food later, I will, meal prep later. I never am more energized at 6 o'clock at night. Like, it's never like, oh man, I'm getting my second wind, everybody.
Yeah, now
like,
I'm going to really tuck into that.
Right. So never trust myself when I'm trying to put something off, because that magical time of feeling energized and invigorated, it might come every 1 in 10 times. But again, it's that law of averages. On average, I have more energy in the morning. Get it done now.
Yeah.
Don't put it off.
Yeah, for sure. So back to me. I just said that, I don't generally eat till 2 p.m., but if I am going to eat in the morning, or really even whatever my first meal of the day is, it should not be carb heavy. Eating cereal, oatmeal, pancakes, waffles, like first thing in the morning, I'm going to feel like garbage after that. For whatever reason, like that carbs first thing just makes me feel terrible. And 2, it could be psychological, but it makes me hungrier, and it really sort of triggers that even these things like cereal and oatmeal, they just never seem to fill me up for very long, and I just always end up eating much more and soon, because I just suddenly am like starving.
Well, and I think knowing yourself, and maybe you're the kind of person, because I know people like this, freaks and weirdos.
If you're a freak or weirdo, we'd like to hear from you.
No, but I know people who are like, oh, I made overnight oats, and that's my breakfast for the day. And a week or 2 ago, I saw someone who was like, oats overnight made. And I was like, I'm the kind of person who can eat oats. That'll be delicious. And I was starving 30 minutes later and ended up having a bad day, which isn't to say that it wasn't delicious oatmeal.
And but maybe oatmeal fills you up, but I just
be nice.
I just always feel, like that old thing they say about Chinese food, like you're always hungry like an hour later. I feel that way with oatmeal all the time, or cereal.
Right. So know yourself, what actually fills you, what leads to sabotage. Donuts are traditionally a breakfast food. And even on days where I budget for it, like pairing is caring episode.
Yeah.
Even if I'm like, oh, well, I went and got a car wash, and that means I get a donut. If I start my day with a donut, I end my day terribly. Like, I should just
end your day with a dozen donuts.
Right. But it happens. So even after losing 100 pounds, I know now that a donut needs to be saved for after dinner, because then I go to sleep and I
Right.
don't continue the pattern of behavior, because a donut, oatmeal, toast, pancakes, it all makes me want more, and it makes me forget my goals for the future.
And that ties in nicely to my next one, which is never give me a dessert or a super treat before dinner.
Yeah.
It's always a bad idea for me to have like I don't need to start naming desserts, which I was about to do, but it's always a bad idea for me to have something like that before dinner, because then it becomes so much harder for me to stick to my, healthy, and I even use healthy in air quotes, foods that I eat, but my high protein, low calorie foods that I eat between 2 p.m. and dinner, up to and including dinner.
Totally.
It's much easier for me to stick to that sort of thing once that floodgate is open. And again, a lot of this is a mental game, but as soon as I have that super tasty treat, then it's like, oh, that was good. I'm going to have another one and another one and another one.
Well, and here's the thing. There are podcasters out there, there are weight loss gurus who have absolutes, who are like, never do this, always do that.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, I can control myself because I planned it in advance.
Right.
If I plan a donut in advance, it's going to lead me down a bad path later in the day.
Right.
And we can say, like, we're, I don't think we give anyone the illusion that we're perfect weight loss people. But if you see someone else who has, like, you should be able to eat a donut in the morning, like, you're a grown up, I know that I can't. And that's the life I'm living right now. Maybe in 5 years from now, I will be a person who can have one donut in the morning and be fine. I am not that person now. And understanding who you are today, like who you really are today, it matters.
Yeah.
And the less we give in to those, I should be able to, well, other people can, when we start comparing ourselves to other people's journey or feel less than because we can't control ourselves, that's when we start feeling sorry for ourselves. Understanding what works for us as our own Mogwai, it matters. It really matters. So I'm proud of you for knowing your limitations.
Yeah, and part of that, just to piggyback on what you were saying, is that part of this rule about not eating any super treats before dinner is not starting those treats until I know bedtime is within sight. Like, I'm not going to suddenly stay up for an extra 3 hours after I've started eating my dessert. Like, I know that my bedtime is within an hour, hour and a half, something like that, before I start really eating anything treat-like. Because if I know I'm going to be up for several more hours after I eat my dessert, then I know I'm just going to keep eating desserts, and I'm going to really try and talk myself into having more.
Yeah.
Oh, you've had a hard day. Like, you can have another one. Oh, you've had 5 days in a row on your calories. You could have, 4 or 5 extra desserts tonight. It'll be fine. Like, all those sort of things I talk myself into.
Totally. And one thing that ties into evening time is don't undersleep. Don't stay up late watching YouTube videos, scrolling Instagram, watching Seinfeld, our beloved show, because the way I end today is going to determine how I start tomorrow. And knowing that about myself, going to bed, I mean, even our daughter's out of town right now.
Yeah.
We were in bed by a cool 9:30 last night.
We sure were.
Because we like to rock the
super
party.
Party animals.
We are.
Nobody is cooler than us.
But if I stayed up super late, it would lead to me sleeping in, which would lead to me not rebounding, which would lead to me not, like, oh, well, let's just grab breakfast. We already are too tired. So really knowing that I need solid sleep, it really does matter, because it does today determines how we start tomorrow. And if I stay up late, like Donald said, I just want to eat more. Another one is never test my own resolve. Whenever I try to test, like, you know what? I should be able to buy a dozen full-size candy bars for our...
I have lost over 100 pounds. Certainly I am somebody who could have a dozen full-size candy bars in the house and not eat them all.
I mean, I know in the past it's led to me binging, but I'm sure this time it won't.
Yeah.
And it's always for me that, like, for 3 days, it's fine. For 3 days, I have one Twix, and one Snickers and I portion them out and I feel like I'm a magic person. Like I have the best resolve. And then something happens on Thursday and I'm tired and
you have a bad day. You have a confrontation with somebody at work. Like,
Yeah. Or like I will also be like, well, I know it's lunchtime and I have the calories. So why don't I just have a Snickers now
oh boy.
and see if I'm fine? Like when I test myself like that, it ends in a dumpster fire. And it happens all the time. So it's 2 or 3 days are fine, and then it goes all downhill. Like, so not testing my resolve.
Yeah, but it's just like Gremlins. Like, even though you know all of these rules, you still talk yourself into it sometimes because deep down you really want to have that Snickers bar.
Well, and if I do something like, okay, well, you know what? I'll just bake this and see if it's fine. Like, I'll just, I should be able to control myself. I should just be able to have one snack, one sweet, one donut.
Exactly.
Like, and it never goes well.
Nope.
Or it goes well once and I act like I'm fixed, which is a lie. And then I go back to my old habits.
Yeah.
So I have to wait for my treats until after I eat. And they have to be pre-planned and I can't go and like tell myself I'll just have one more. Like even after all this time, I know that is still true. And I think one last thing for me is, and it kind of ties into this, and Donald called me out on it, and he used this word, so I'm going to use it too. Never lurk in the kitchen, which is something I totally do. Like, if I tell myself, like, I'm going to go do dishes in the kitchen, I'm going to go clean up the leftovers.
She's a kitchen lurker, especially
I am a
at
lurker.
night.
I'll take the dishes into the kitchen.
Sometimes she's out there trying to wait for me to get out of the kitchen, and I'm like, oh boy, I know what's happening as soon as I leave this kitchen.
But like, I know that acting altruistic and being like, I'll do the dishes. Yeah. I'll get your lunch ready.
Why don't you let me fill the Brita filter, the Brita pitcher?
So I just cannot keep myself in proximity of the kitchen after dinner. Like, dishes need to wait until the morning. Cleanup needs to wait until the morning. I mean, or put food away while I'm cooking so that it's not sitting out on the counter. But my instinct to have like one rogue chicken nugget off of our daughter's plate or one last taste of whatever, it is still as strong as it was 4 years ago. So me lurking quietly, if I'm quiet in the kitchen and you don't hear me talking, basically, you can just assume that I'm secret eating behind the cupboard door because that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm podcasting right now, to ensure that I'm not lurking in the kitchen. To
not secret eat. That's why we podcast. So my next one is never tell me the odds. Oh, no, wait, that's Han Solo's
what?
List of things never to do. He's like, never tell me the odds in Empire Strikes Back. Okay, never mind. I'll move on.
Sorry.
Never listen.
I was too busy looking at Luke in Empire at the time. So
I understand.
Yeah,
Believe me, I get it.
I was on Team Luke. Not sure I am now.
Yeah. Never just listen to my body. And
no.
I actually put that in quotes, like on my...
Oh my God, it bothers me when people are like, I just listen to my body. My body is a lying liar.
My body is a liar. My body tells me to eat all the food all the time.
Oh my gosh.
I have to track my calories.
Oh my gosh.
That is what I have to do. I can't just feel it out. I can't just guess. I can't just, eat till I'm satisfied.
You know what I feel like my body really needs pancakes right now.
Yeah, exactly. My body's craving it. I mean, I don't want them, but my body really wants them.
My body friggin' lies. It has let me down so long. Anyway.
Exactly. Never wear white after Labor Day. I just really don't. She's giving me a look. I don't understand. Anyway, okay. Never, I know we've basically already done this one, but never stay up. This is a rule for me. Never stay up past 10 p.m. I have found, and I cannot stress this enough because I don't think people really think of it, doing my best exercise and making my best food choices requires that I am not dead tired. and I need my sleep. So I need to go to bed early and go to bed often and get enough sleep, get enough sleep, get enough sleep. It really is important to getting down the 100 pounds and maintaining the 100 pounds.
It does. For me, not waiting to gain more weight to feel inspired to start losing weight is huge.
Yeah.
Like over the holidays, didn't track my food.
That's a big one that people do, especially right before New Year's.
Listen to my dirty lying body and ate more than I needed and felt I took a little bit of a Rumspringa, was up on the scale, and not waiting for your future self to be shocked into having to lose weight really matters.
Yeah.
Like not being like, well, when I hit this weight, or when I can't fit into my pants, then I'll start losing weight, which is what I used to do.
Motivation
all the time.
is a lie.
It is
too.
a lie.
Like we did an episode called "Waiting for the Motivation Bus." At least I think that's what it was called, and I'll link to it in the show notes. But all about, if you have motivation, great, seize upon it. But really, it's a lie. Like it is about doing it when you don't have the motivation. Yeah. It's about putting those habits in place and doing them every day.
I have been motivated very few times in the last 4 years. But what I have done is just built momentum on habits that just seem more natural now than they did when I started 4 years ago.
For sure.
And I think finally for me, and this is where I'll end it for this episode, which we kind of talked about in the tip of the week.
Tao! Tip of the week to you.
Tip of the week to you.
Sorry, you caught me off guard with that.
Just want to make sure I keep you frosty.
Yeah.
Is don't hurt your own feelings on social media. Like, I still do this. I still have to unfollow people who either make me feel bad about my life, make me feel less than as a podcaster, make me feel less than as a weight loss inspiration. Like, unfollow people who just make you feel bad about yourself. It is so critical to keep your thoughts and your surroundings safe for yourself. If there are people, relatives who are more prosperous than you or seem to have more exciting lives or whatever, like just unfollow them and keep your space safe, because I am so easily derailed by other people's lives. Please follow We Only Look Thin on Facebook. But,
yeah, we're inspiring. We're not going to make you feel bad.
But if it seems like someone else has it all together and you feel less than, unfollow them. I literally, before we started this podcast today, unfollowed someone because I was like, I am tired of feeling that jolt of competitiveness, not healthy competition, but like, oh boy, why should I even bother because they're doing X? Like, just unfollow.
And please know that just because somebody seems to have it all together and seems to, you get jealous of them does not mean that they actually do. Like, social media lies, pictures lie. They're just snapshots. And Catherine and I have lost 100 pounds, over 100 pounds. We've been maintaining it for a couple of years, but our lives are far from perfect. There are pictures on Facebook of our messy coffee table. I mean, I was completely a dumpster fire for a few days over the Christmas holidays, despite all of my talking about not waiting till next year and not using it as an excuse. Like, we are still learning and still growing. And, there are days where I am just hanging by a thread, like that old poster of the cat, like hanging from a tree that says, hang in there, baby.
Hang in there.
I am just grasping to that branch, trying to keep from just losing it completely. But luckily, I have, over the last few years, put these habits in place. And I know that if I do have a couple of days like that, it's not the end of the world. And I can get back on my plan and get back to my daily habits and not go completely off the rails.
Right. And I think for us, and any podcast episode that we do is very much for ourselves also. I had to make a list to remind myself of all of the ways I invoke old habits and the ways I trick myself into believing that I'm fixed, because I am definitely not. And I am just as likely to lurk in the kitchen now as I was 100 pounds ago. And it's not calling myself on it and letting those habits like, oh, don't get on the scale. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Like, I'll just weigh myself on Groundhog's Day after January is over. Like, it all matters.
Groundhog's Day's in February.
So really take some time, if you can, to make a list of your operating instructions. What are your warning signs? What do you know about yourself after all of this time listening to the podcast, after being 30 years old, 31 years old, 30. What do you know about yourself to be true that might conflict with the people around you, with your family, with your colleagues? How can you better understand yourself and own who you are today? It might change in a year. You might have a different perspective, but your operating instructions now to not turn into a gremlin are critical to your success. Calling yourself out, knowing yourself better, it all matters.
And please listen next week. I think this is going to wrap up part 1 of our Gremlins episode, but please listen next week. We will go into part 2 and give you the second half of our rules for ourselves, our do not feed them after midnight type rules.
Exactly.
But for now, I think that brings us to our product of the week. Pow, everybody.
Pow.
It's been a little while since we've done a product of the week, and this one is a little bit unusual as a product, but Catherine had heard about this movie, and I'm not sure that I had until she told me about it.
He hadn't heard about it until he heard about it. I actually said that earlier. I was like, I didn't know until I knew.
That's how it works.
But over the holiday, we watched the movie. It's an Amazon original.
It's on Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, it's included with Prime. It's an Amazon original called Brittany Runs a Marathon.
Yeah, and it is about a 30-year-old woman, or almost 30-year-old, who is living very indulgently. I can definitely understand that. And she gets some bad news from her doctor. Didn't you get some bad news from your doctor?
I did get some bad news. I got a type 2 diabetes diagnosis, which sort of forced me down this road. And she gets a stern warning from her doctor about fatty liver disease and some other things.
Yeah, and her BMI. And
it's based on a true story, actually, which I didn't know until the end of the movie when they show photos of the actual Brittany.
Actual Brittany.
Yeah.
But it is inspiring. It is a pretty raw view of how overweight people are viewed, how we view ourselves, how we view others, the excuses that we make, and also being able to triumph over them and start changing your life. So
and I saw a lot of myself in Brittany, not the part about running the marathon, but the all of the things that all the lies she was telling herself that got her to her heaviest weight, and all of the things that she was doing that were really putting her in a bad place emotionally and physically.
Yeah,
I saw a lot of myself in it.
And the victimizing that she did of herself, but how she kind of rose above it. And it was very interesting. Got a little tearful a few times because so much of it was super honest. Yeah, some of it
hit a little too close to home sometimes too.
Yeah, but we rebounded during most of the movie because the idea of sitting on the couch eating food while she was running a marathon was not what I could do. So it was inspiring to get us off our feet.
Inspiring and got us some steps while we were watching it.
Yeah, so give it a watch. It was a fun, lighthearted movie, but also had some serious feels. So that is our product of the week. Pow, everybody. And that is our episode for this week. We really, really, truly appreciate you for listening. Thank you so much. If you got something out of this and would like to help us out a little bit, we love getting your ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. We just got to 300.
We got to 300.
We asked
DJ
for 300. We asked for 300 and we got them. Thank you. I know.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Whoever you were, thank you so much. It is such a boost, not only to our own feelings, but it also helps us get more visibility in the podcast.
Yeah,
world.
all of your ratings and reviews increases the chances of people finding us. It helps us grow the podcast, and we really appreciate it. If you'd like to find more about us, you can go to our website, weonlylookthin.com. And one of the things you can do there, besides listen to the show, is to click on the Join Our Support Group link and find all about Wolt Place, We Only Look Thin Place, which is our online support group for women.
For ladies. Donald is an admin in the group. Doesn't lurk. He just he responds to things if someone tags him about pickles. Generally,
people tag me about pickles all the time.
Yeah, we made a pickle joke like 2 years ago, and people.
No, I'm a pickle guy. Yeah, I'll own it.
He'll own it. He could pickle that.
Yeah.
But it is an online support group for women. We are a safe place in the world of the internet to be super honest about our journeys, our struggles, our successes, and it is just a super great little community of people supporting one another. So I need it as much as the people who are in the group, and I'm just so grateful to be on the journey with each of them. So if you'd like to join, find out more there. We have a 3-month subscription with a 7-day trial, and a 1-month monthly subscription with a 3-day trial. So give it a go.
You got nothing to lose by signing up. Check it out, see if it's for you.
Yeah.
You can also find us on the socials on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at We Only Look Thin. And one of my New Year's resolutions was to be more present on Twitter, which so far I have been accomplishing.
So email us at weonlylookthin@gmail.com if you need, if you have anything to share with us, any tips or
we would love
questions.
Episode ideas, things that, topics you'd like us to cover. And we also will answer questions. We do respond if you email us.
Yeah. So if you're not sure if it's a gremlin lurking in the kitchen or just Catherine secret eating, just remember that Donald
it's
and I
Catherine.
it's me, an inspiration.
The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.